Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
The terrifying destructive power of the armor-piercing class can be exerted in the most perfect way under the protection of many company ships. Such a devastating attack that may come at any time puts more pressure on the opponent than the pressure the military put on Chen Ming just now. But the commander on the military flagship did not panic at this time, but calmed down again. The commander had heard of the name of the armor-piercing class and remembered the situation of the armor-piercing class. This is a unique and aggressive spacecraft design of the Shinda Company. Although it has extremely strong firepower, when the armor-piercing class only has a design concept and no physical proof of combat effectiveness, the overly fragile armor and anti-line ability make the military not choose it in the annual bidding. Before, he also thought that the armor-piercing class was just an unreliable test product. But now that he has seen the final physical object, he suddenly feels that this ability to instantly destroy ships of the same level does have a considerable degree of tactical significance. But the commander remembered that this ship seemed to have been taken away by the government in the previous bidding. Why would the government? No, it's not the government. The commander suddenly realized the problem and called his deputy to ask, "Do you know the recent movements of Chen Ming, who is wanted by the military?" Yes, after Chen Ming's identity was confirmed, all the information can be traced. Tell me the key points. Yes. After arriving at the pirate space station, Chen Ming changed his name to Mu Shuikong and rejoined the Shinda Company with a new identity. There is nothing wrong with this part. He was just an ordinary employee at the time. He must have had considerable doubts about the situation in the space station. It is normal to change his identity and sneak back in to test the company's attitude. What happened next? Then there were two incidents of Yu Hui attacking the space station. He participated in both incidents. Although there was evidence that he had been on the space station the first time, his ship clashed with other ships on the edge of the battlefield, destroying 4 civilian merchant ships, a Cerberus, a Sentinel, and 2 expeditions in a one-on-many battle, and later captured a complete civilian-level Sentinel and obtained half of the remaining destroyer of Yu Hui that caused their conflict. The commander was not surprised by such a result. A spaceship with several times the radiation energy capacity and seemingly endless firepower can easily destroy several civilian ships of the same level. As for the fact that Chen Ming has been staying on the space station, first of all, it is certain that Chen Ming returned to the space station alone. Otherwise, the military would definitely not only hunt down Chen Ming. Secondly, Chen Ming has not recruited anyone to join the space station, nor has he mobilized manpower in the space station through his relationship within the Shinda Company. The answer is actually easy to guess. In addition to the ability to amplify the spaceship, Chen Ming also has the ability to remotely control the spaceship. Is this a psychic? Although the commander felt a little emotional, there was no envy in his eyes. Because he had just suppressed Chen Ming, a psychic, with his own ability, and that was enough. The deputy continued, "The civilian-class Sentinel is still in the repair shop of the space station, and the other half of the Yu Hui destroyer was sold by Chen Ming in the space station. The specific seller has not yet been investigated." How could this not be investigated? The commander once again understood the incompetence of the local military, shook his head slightly, and waved his hand to signal the deputy to continue. There is no detailed information about how Chen Ming participated in the second incident. We only know that he was directly involved in the battle and brought back 2 ships after the incident, 1 Centurion class of the military and 1 Lumen class of Yu Hui. The military seriously suspects that Chen Ming returned to the RM-2 star system after the second Yu Hui attack on the space station, wandered on the edge of the battlefield between Yu Hui and the military, and then obtained these 2 ships. The commander, who is now fighting with Chen Ming in person, has no doubt that Chen Ming is capable of following Yu Hui's asked to pick up leaks on the battlefield with the military. But he obviously doesn't believe that Chen Ming only brought back 2 ships. However, he did not say it directly, but asked his deputy, "I have just seen the Centurion he brought back. So what about the Yu Hui ship?" It has not been confirmed yet. The Lumen has always been parked in the repair shop of the space station, but was later transported to Chen Ming's own Mule-class armed merchant ship, and then there was no trace. Wait a minute, where did Chen Ming get the Mule-class? Did he buy it? No. After the second Yu Hui attack, He seemed to have organized a fleet to kill a group of wanted pirates and stole it from them. Seems? Well, yes, this part of the military information is not detailed, but it is certain that the Mule class is his trophy. Later, he went to the capital of the Star Field and handed in a pirate bounty, which can also prove this. The commander immediately noticed that there were some problems with Chen Ming's handling of the Yue ship. If he wanted to sell it, Chen Ming could have sold it as before, but he took the ship away personally, and there has been no news of any Lumen-class ship recently. Even if any company took the Lumen away directly point to point, the military would not have been able to detect any rumors. Then there is only one explanation left. Chen Ming has the ability to control even Yuhui's ships. The Yuhui Lumen has been controlled by Chen Ming and docked in a space unknown to anyone. The fleet organized by Chen Ming probably includes several Yuhui ships. As for whether Chen Ming can control the Yuhui AI core installed on the ship, the commander would rather believe that the answer is yes. Because everyone in the entire empire knows the significance of human beings being able to completely control Yuhui. The commander had made up his mind at this time. He no longer considered anything else and directly contacted the communication room and said, "Start the emergency contact device and transfer the authority to me." He wanted to send Chen Ming's intelligence back to the Legion in full and also attach his own analysis of Chen Ming's ability. Chen Ming's value was higher than he had thought before. While writing the information to send to the Legion, he listened to his deputy's explanation of Chen Ming's subsequent whereabouts. After killing the pirates, Chen Ming went to the capital of the Star region to collect the bounty. While the government was verifying the identity of the pirates brought by Chen Ming, he went to a government auction, and the armor-piercing class was the main item. That made sense. The commander was now certain that it was not the government's people who were causing trouble, but he still had some questions to clarify. "I have some impression of this incident, but I remember that something went wrong at the auction?" Yes, Ludwiging attacked the auction as a cover for their attack on the space elevator. How long has it been since then? As one of the people involved in the incident, he should still be under investigation. It should have been like this. Someone got him out. Who? Wuan. The commander's expression changed significantly for the second time, and he said, "Wuan from the Psychic Society? In this ghost place? Chen Ming is also a member of the Psychic Society?" Without waiting for the adjutant to answer, the commander denied his own thoughts and said, "No, he is not. He is just a psychic who has a certain relationship with Wuan. If so, he should be able to directly terminate the mission we are currently carrying out, and it is impossible for him to really fight with me here for so long. Forget it. Whether it is or not, let's keep fighting." The commander saw another destroyer being destroyed by the armor-piercing automatic pulse laser at this time. He knew that he could no longer continue to distract himself to figure out Chen Ming's affairs. Chen Ming is a good person with great potential. He wants it very much, and his army will definitely want it too. But if he fails to win and crashes here, his life is a small matter, but the person is not caught yet. That is a big matter. And just when he was a little distracted to deal with Chen Ming's affairs, there were already several places on the military front that were about to be suppressed by the armor-piercing. He must immediately start to command the fleet more carefully and start to implement the method he just thought of to deal with the large weapons of the armor-piercing class. Under Chen Ming's control, the armor-piercing class is now in a slow-speed shooting mode, continuously creating pressure on the military spacecraft on the entire front. And the best way to deal with this attack mode is clustering. Under the command of the commander, the military fleet began to cluster in small scale with 3 to 5 spacecraft, while trying to maintain the front line, forming more dense dozens of small combat clusters. The automatic pulse laser is a restrained energy bomb type weapon, which means that its bullet speed is not as fast as a laser beam weapon. The attacked spacecraft can still have a certain reaction time. Although people can react, the spacecraft may not be able to control it in time, but at least it can struggle. If you can hide, hide. If you can't hide, then find a way to share some damage with other spacecraft in a cluster. This approach can reduce the pressure on the battle line in the slow shooting mode that Chen Ming is currently conducting. As long as this output is difficult to break the military's battle line instantly, then under the commander's delicate operation, any moment of respite will become his opportunity to counterattack. Chen Ming saw the changes in the military's battle line clearly. He could also immediately detect the disadvantages of only a single armor-piercing class in slow shooting mode. He also instantly realized the commander's ability to find an opportunity to counterattack and destroy several frigates that were advancing because the military ship's shield was about to overload. So in the end, Chen Ming had to give up suppressing the entire battle line and choose to let the armor-piercing class destroy the military ships with an explosive output of about 15 seconds of cooling. Chen Ming would definitely not be able to compete with the commander in a large-scale battle, so Chen Ming decided to rely on his own strength to deal with it. The commander on the other side also knew that he could not avoid the destruction of warships every time the armor-piercing fired, but the attack efficiency of the armor-piercing class had indeed been reduced to a certain extent. Originally, if all the automatic pulse lasers hit, they could instantly destroy 2 destroyers. But with the assistance of clusters, many times it would become a ship that was destroyed, while leaving several ships with shields close to overload. There is still a big difference between them. Although this method seems to be a temporary solution, the armor-piercing can still destroy military destroyers with a more terrifying efficiency than any other ship. But the commander did this for more reasons. He never thought that a destroyer would have such a big impact on the battle, and he was now sure that they did not have the means to deal with the armor-piercing class. So he had no idea of dealing with the armor-piercing class directly now. Instead, he chose another way. Fight with the ships of the Cinda Company head-on and exchange them. The commander has determined that the cooldown time of the armor-piercing large weapon is 15 seconds after the few rounds of shooting just now. This seems short, but it is still a bit long in the exchange of fire between warships. The 15-second vacuum period means that the company's fleet is actually the same as before in these 15 seconds, or even worse. Because the other ships in the fleet need to help the armor-piercing share the firepower, this is the only chance. To be honest, originally, the commander had played a very obvious advantage in the battle, but in the end he was forced to rely on the number of ships to exchange for it. It's really embarrassing to say it out. But for the commander, it doesn't matter whether it's embarrassing or not. Victory is the most important. After losing a destroyer and a guard again, the armor-piercing class produced a short 15 seconds of vacuum period. The commander found the weakest point of the company's front line and commanded the remaining fleet to launch the most fierce attack as if desperately. With the determination to win without caring about losses, the patrol ships, which were usually only responsible for patrolling the space station, were suddenly unable to bear it. Even the people on the spacecraft sent by the company were a little flustered by the military's desperate fighting attitude. Even if Chen Ming could maintain 15 seconds to destroy at least one destroyer, the overall situation of the battle began to tilt towards the military. After all, the army is the army. No matter how experienced the company's people are in battle, they can't compare to those who are really on the edge of a knife. Chen Ming, who had time to observe the overall situation of the battlefield, naturally discovered the commander's plan. The army is now desperately exchanging the battle loss ratio. If the ship protecting the armor-piercing is destroyed, then the remaining armor-piercing ship has no meaning. Even if the military is not exchanging the original 1-2 battle losses, but 1-1, the company will definitely not be able to withstand it. But there is not much Chen Ming can do now. Although the panel repair can speed up the cooling time of the automatic pulse laser, it is not only the cooling time that affects the attack frequency of the automatic pulse laser. There is also energy limitation. The antiparticle energy activation module needs time to charge and provide energy for the automatic pulse laser to fire. This is the place that cannot be repaired. So the current situation on the battlefield is to compete with each other to see who kills faster, and the one who kills faster will win in the end. Chen Ming's advantage in reaching the armor-piercing level instantly turned into a balance due to the gap in other aspects. Chen Ming, who was controlling the armor-piercing attack, felt more and more pressure. He really had no good way to crack the military's clear-cut play. Moreover, Chen Ming's mental power was close to the limit in the long battle, but Chen Ming was still thinking with his brain that was constantly producing a tingling feeling, thinking about whether he needed to use the last resort. But at this time, Chen Ming suddenly noticed that there was a sudden chaos within the military front, and there was chaos in the dispatch. Several spaceships suddenly seemed to have a conflict inside and began to fight each other. And a large part of the ships suddenly stopped attacking and began to withdraw from the battlefield. What happened? Chen Ming had already controlled all the destroyers in the fleet and returned to the cowherd again. He just saw the captain receiving the message sent by the military. The commander of the RM-2 military outpost was identified as a rebel, and the order he issued was deemed invalid and the review was not authorized. Please stop the fighting immediately, and the military will compensate your company accordingly. The captain was filled with anger at this time. The military said they wanted to stop? Then how can they get back the people they lost? But his reason made him suppress his anger, and instead began to restrict his ships and gradually pull away. The two sides, who were just engaged in a fierce exchange of fire and even wanted to exchange their lives for their own, suddenly became peaceful again. What is going on? Not only Chen Ming and the captain, but even the commander also had such thoughts in his mind at this time. He just received a message from his legion, as well as from the Star Domain government and the Star Domain military. The station master of the small military outpost for collecting sky steel in the RM-2 star system, and also the station master of the military outpost closest to the pirate space station, violated the rules and used military resources. After being discovered, he still did not give any reasons for the illegal operation and acted on his own, and was subsequently classified as a rebellious act. It was just now. The commander came here just to fight, just to take Chen Ming away, not to have anything to do with the rebels. So he immediately chose to stop the fight and distanced himself from the company fleet. Most of the people in the fleet who had not completely lost their minds had no objection to this, and they also did not want to be affected by the rebellion of their superiors. The remaining ones who still wanted to continue fighting were basically those who had gone crazy in the battle. But it was impossible for all the people on a spaceship to go crazy, so all the warships in the entire military fleet executed the commander's order. As for those confidants of the station master in the military, all of them were sent away by the commander in the previous battle. The battle started suddenly, but ended peacefully. Just when Chen Ming thought he could finally rest and go to the capital of the star region safely. The boss, who had not spoken for a long time, suddenly spoke. Xiaomu, it seems that you have a big trouble to go over there.
What?
As soon as Chen Ming finished speaking, some ripples that Chen Ming had never seen suddenly appeared in the hyperspace where the fleet was located, at a distance from the fleet, as if the space had fluctuated. In a situation that no one on the battlefield had expected, a ruler-class heavy cruiser arrived in this hyperspace with its own jump engine.
Fuck.
Chen Ming, who thought that his brain was groggy due to mental exhaustion, did not dare to feel sleepy at all. Boss, ruler, cruiser. I'm already trying to contact someone. The boss voice came out intermittently for the last few words, and then the communication was completely disconnected. The only thing left in Chen Ming's eyes was the extremely terrifying heavy cruiser. And at this time, inside the Empire, on an Earth-like planet in the Asconia star system in the prosperous star field, here is the headquarters of Shinda Company. The upcoming board of directors has been prepared to the final stage. But in fact, there is no need for any preparation. After all, this is an online meeting. From preparation to gathering people, it is just a matter of adjusting work. In short, in the final meeting room, except for Chairman Su Lin who was present in person, everyone else was in the meeting room as a virtual projection. After everyone confirmed that they were present, the chairman spoke directly. This decision-making meeting was initiated by me, and half of the members have agreed to hold it. There are two issues that need to be voted on by the board of directors. First, is it necessary to reconfront the military and take back the resource mining rights of the galaxy? Second, is it necessary to protect Chen Ming, let Chen Ming return to the company with a higher status, and give investment? You should all know what happened. Except for a few directors who have just joined the board of directors, others should not forget what happened 30 years ago. Then I won't waste your time, and start voting on the first proposal. The result came out in just a few seconds, and it was passed unanimously. The existence of Chen Ming means that the military's blockade of the galaxy where Shinda Company has obtained mining rights has no meaning. Reclaiming is something that the company must do. Then the second proposal is next. Please vote. What the chairman did not expect was that the final result was 4 votes in favor, 8 votes against, and 1 abstention. The collective opposition of the board of directors made the chairman's face appear gloomy for a moment. A director who voted against the decision said, "A psychic who can control a spaceship has different values for different forces. We all know Chen Ming's value and how much his ability can help the development of our cutting-edge technology. But the government just gave us a message. The armor-piercing class we sold them suddenly ran away. You all know who did it, right?" With the military's intervention, Chen Ming's information can never be kept completely secret. Sooner or later, the government will know who took the armor-piercing class away. Then, they will know how terrible the effect of Chen Ming's ability is. After that, who will dare to buy our company's spaceship? For Chen Ming, we have to offend the military and the government at the same time. Is this exchange worth it? We have to make a choice between the company's business and the company's technology. The director has laid out the pros and cons of the whole thing. The chairman also knew whether what he said was correct or not. After a slight sigh, he said, "What is the opinion of the board of directors? Chen Ming can only be used as a person. Find a way to gain his trust, exchange Sky Steel back steadily, and then sell him." In order to prevent ambiguity, the director added another body and said, "Of course not to kill him, but to sell him to other forces. Other companies, the military, and even the government can sell him. Chen Ming is our bargaining chip, but in our hands, or in the hands of all companies that produce and sell spacecraft to foreign countries, there will be negative value. But for the military and the government, there is no need to consider negative issues, so they will definitely be happy to buy Chen Ming from us. Do you want Chen Ming? Of course, but not all of them, only for a period of time. This is the most profitable choice for the company, and Chen Ming's personal wishes are not important." The chairman suddenly crossed his fingers and put them in front of his mouth, saying, "But Chen Ming, a psychic, is favored by Wuan of the Psychic Society." The meeting room was quiet for a moment. The director in charge of the pirate space station who voted in favor also spoke up, "I can testify. Wuan has been staying in the place under my jurisdiction. His attitude towards our company is at a stage of neither good nor bad. I am still trying to show him goodwill, so I have not announced this news at the board meeting." After a while of silence in the meeting room, the director who had just abstained said, "I think this matter needs to be considered seriously. I propose to postpone the vote." "That's good. I agree." Second, the directors all agreed to postpone the resolution of the company's attitude towards Chen Ming. Wuan's presence requires them to take time to carefully consider their attitude towards Chen Ming and whether it will affect Wuan's attitude towards them. At this moment, the door of the boardroom was suddenly knocked. The matter that can disturb such a meeting must be the most urgent matter. The chairman immediately asked his secretary who knocked on the door to come in. The secretary immediately handed a paper document he brought to the chairman and then left the meeting room. After scanning the documents, the chairman said quickly, "It's an emergency. The military is attacking the fleet I sent to bring Chen Ming back, and they are also using cruisers to hunt him down." The military said that the captain of the cruiser violated the rules and started a rebellion. The army has been sent to suppress it. The atmosphere in the conference room suddenly became anxious. They were hastily discussing a situation that was definitely not good for the company. The chairman, relying on his own people at the scene, knocked on the table, quieting the conference room, and said, "Everything else is empty. The most important thing now is that Chen Ming cannot die. Chen Ming is dead, and the rest is empty talk." Whether it is Sky Steel or the top research-type psychics who have a certain degree of knowledge of spacecraft technology, or even the possibility of forming a relationship with the Psychic Association in a short period of time, all are gone. At this time, in the hyperspace of the galaxy where the pirate space station is located, the battlefield, which had already entered a white-hot stage, fell into calm again. There were reasons for the military to take the initiative to cease fire, and there was also the reason for the sudden appearance of the ruler-class cruiser. The only person who could mobilize the cruiser in this star region was the military outpost station master who was just said by the military to have launched a rebellion. So who is the current captain of this cruiser? Almost everyone present knew it very well. Therefore, The company and the military did not dare to make any big moves when they saw the cruiser. The company knew who gave the order for the army to chase Chen Ming with such a fleet scale. And the military was not sure what the station master, who was said to be a rebellion by the higher authorities, had in mind. However, having said that, the military could definitely communicate with each other directly, which was much better than the company's blind guess. And with the appearance of the ruler, the communication between the company fleet and the military fleet was also disconnected. It is not clear whether it was influenced by the rulers or the military fleet took the initiative to disconnect. So the captain of the cattleman class could only choose to command the fleet to regroup through the communication system, maintaining the formation while protecting the armor breaker and Chen Ming's iron ore. Although there were a lot of noises in the communication channel within the fleet, at least it was barely audible. After quickly issuing several instructions, the captain turned to Chen Ming and said, "Mr. Chen, the ship's communication system is affected. There are professional electronic warfare equipment on that cruiser. We don't have ships equipped with electronic countermeasures, and external communications have been completely disconnected. Although I was contacting people in the company just now, I'm not sure whether the last sentence about the military sending out a cruiser has been sent out. So we must send you back to the space station first. Only the space station can stop the cruiser." Chen Ming also knew that there were no more options at the moment and asked, "What are you going to do? The cruiser is more powerful than your ship. It is definitely not something our fleet can handle. All responses are just delusional. So we rely on all the ships in our fleet to delay for a while, giving you time to withdraw from the effective range of the blocking pulse." The captain's meaning was very clear. He was going to issue a mandatory order for all ships to go up and die to delay time, including the cowherd he was with. Under the circumstance that the attitude of the military fleet was not too clear at this time, the fleet had no ability to resist the cruiser, and the fleet spacecraft could not get rid of the military fleet of the same level. So turning around and fighting hard was the only option. At the same time, if the mission could be completed, at least the company would definitely take care of their aftermath. The captain did this, and Chen Ming was the beneficiary. Even if Chen Ming might not be able to escape from the pursuit of the ruler in the end, at least there was a certain chance if he did this. So he did not refuse. Chen Ming left the command room and boarded the shuttle on the flight deck. In less than a few dozen seconds, the cruiser had already approached the battlefield from the position where it jumped out, but it had not shown any aggressiveness yet, which made it even more difficult to figure out the station master's thoughts. Chen Ming was not distracted by this and quickly returned to his iron ore. Prepare to increase the distance to prevent the military spacecraft from activating the blocking pulse for interference in order to retreat. Chen Ming only planned to drive away the iron ore at this time, and the Centurion he was also controlling stayed to help hold the line. Although he certainly couldn't hold it, it would be better to block more bullets from large weapons. If the Centurion exploded here, it would explode. He could still afford to lose a Centurion. The same was true for the armor-piercing class that Chen Ming had obtained from the government. Chen Ming personally drove the iron ore and gradually accelerated, heading away from a hyperspace channel. The military fleet did not make any moves, and they did not seem to stop Chen Ming's plan. The ruler class, which was still some distance away from Chen Ming, did not rush to track him, but instead launched something towards the star gravity well in the center of the galaxy. Chen Ming immediately noticed something was wrong and immediately activated the hyperspace channel system, regardless of whether he was within the range of the blocking pulse. The system was still starting, but Chen Ming suddenly saw that the space of the gravity well, which was distorted by gravity, suddenly became flat. The gravity of the gravity well disappeared. No, it was blocked. Chen Ming immediately thought of a device that could cause this situation. A device called a temporary gravity well blockade device. Its effect is similar to that of a blocking pulse generator, but the principle of action is different. The function of a pulse blocking generator is to interrupt the start of the hyperspace channel system. If there are only one or two blocking pulse generators, then as long as the time is right and the risk of being attacked is taken, the spacecraft whose system is interrupted by the blocking pulse still has a chance to leave by force. But the gravity well blockade is different, and its effect is stronger. In addition to the function of the system itself, The activation of the hyperspace channel system also requires the help of external forces from the gravity well of the star in the hyperspace. Without the gravity well of the star, it means that the hyperspace channel system cannot be used. It also means that the hyperspace of the entire galaxy is completely blocked at this time. You can only enter, not leave. This effect affects not only Chen Ming, but also ships near this galaxy, including those passing by watching the show on the edge of the battlefield. They can't leave the hyperspace now. However, the ships that gathered in the hyperspace channel waiting for the end of the battle have almost run away. Those who can't wait have already found a remote corner near the galaxy to go out in advance, and the last section of the road relies on their own ships to fly slowly. Those who can wait, when they see the ruler appear, they also know what they should do. So after the gravity well was blocked, only the military and the company's fleet remained in the hyperspace of the galaxy. The way to escape quickly was cut off by the gravity well blockade. The first thing that came to Chen Ming's mind was a solution. As far as he knew, this device was actually a derivative device called a gravity well stable anchor point. Chen Ming had learned the working principle of this thing in his memory and happened to check what the derivative device of this thing was specifically out of interest. So he also knew how to deal with it. And there were several ways. One was to run farther away, just go to another galaxy that was not blocked to activate the hyperspace channel system. But Chen Ming knew best what the purpose of the military cruiser was. Even if there was a speed limit in hyperspace and the big ship could not run faster than the small ship, the ruler's jump engine was not a decoration. This method was thrown out of Chen Ming's mind without a moment's pause. The second was to dismantle the equipment. The ruler just threw the equipment to the gravity well. As long as it could be dismantled, the gravity well of the galaxy would naturally recover. However, the current position of the ruler class just blocked the gravity well, connecting the company fleet, the ruler, and the gravity well in a line. If you want to dismantle the equipment, you have to dismantle the ruler first. Chen Ming thought about it for half a second and threw this idea out of his mind. The third method is the jump engine, which is a device that can be started without a gravity well. But Chen Ming also knew that the jump engine was even more nonsense than the previous two ideas. Not to mention that this thing is only carried on cruisers. Even if there is a lower level version, Chen Ming can't afford it, let alone find one on the spot. Fourth, the spacecraft engine itself has enough output power and can directly force through the hyperspace without the help of the gravity well effect and return to the normal universe environment. However, the specific value required for this sufficient engine output power can only be said to exist only in theory. At least Chen Ming still doesn't know which spacecraft engine has the power to enter and exit hyperspace by itself. None of the four theoretical solutions that Chen Ming had seen in books before can be applied in practice now. Chen Ming was a little doubtful about what he had learned. There were no other means of seeking help that could quickly get rid of the current situation. The boss seemed to have been thinking of a solution, but the signal from the boss was cut off and could not be relied on for the time being. The company must have received the news of the military attack before, and there must be support, but it might be too late to deal with the support of the cruiser in a short time. Moreover, after the ruler came, the communication system of the entire galaxy hyperspace was directly blocked by electronic warfare equipment. In addition, the captain also said that it was not certain whether the company could receive the news or not, so it could not be relied on. As for the military said it was a rebellion, and the rebellion would definitely be suppressed. But the military fleet had just received the news of the rebellion, and it was not certain when the fleet coming to suppress it would come. Moreover, looking at the actions of the military fleet at this time, Chen Ming felt that this rebellion was unreliable, and he always believed that this rebellion must be put in quotation marks. Various methods of seeking help from external forces could not provide support. Then Chen Ming seemed to have no choice but to use the last resort. Chen Ming quickly switched control of his spacecraft and confirmed the positions of several of his own spacecraft, especially the positions of several afterglow ships. Finally, he switched control back to the armor-piercing class. Then Chen Ming did not think much and continued to let the iron ore go in the direction of the hyperspace channel farthest from the ruler. Although the result was probably doomed, he still had to try. At the same time, he also let his strongest output means, the armor-piercing class, hide behind other company spacecraft, ready to try to launch a counterattack at any time. Theoretically, the large weapons of the armor-piercing class are enough to threaten cruiser-level ships. Today, he will tear a piece of meat from the ruler at all costs. Although Chen Ming had just responded, he was actually prepared to not be able to get out of this hyperspace. But what he never expected was, after completely blocking the gravity well, the ruler-class heavy cruiser directly activated its 4 large weapons. But the target of its attack was not the fleet of the Cinda Company, nor was it Chen Ming, who had already run out of range due to the speed limit of objects in hyperspace, but the military's own fleet. And it was the Enforcer with special paint and modification as the flagship. Then Chen Ming once again witnessed the power of the cruiser. The large weapons that were originally adapted to the cruiser, and the energy supply that could meet the firing of several large weapons at the same time, even though the live ammunition weapons were weakened in the hyperspace. But the station master who controlled the ruler instantly fired a large number of needles straight to the Enforcer after locking the target with 2 storm needles, causing the Enforcer's shield to be torn apart almost instantly. Although the commander's reaction before the shield was destroyed prevented the ship from being paralyzed by radiation overload. But those needles, as thick as a normal person's arm, still pierced the entire Enforcer. As a shield-breaking type of live ammunition weapon, the Storm Needle was slightly weak in the face of the speed limit of hyperspace and the obviously extra-thickened and heavy armor of the Enforcer. After penetrating the armor, it did not go deeper and was just stuck between the hull and the armor. The Enforcer was barely able to hold on after being destroyed. It seemed that only one more round was needed, and the Enforcer would be completely destroyed. But the ruler obviously did not want to choose this method. Instead, he used another weapon, the Gauss cannon, to accelerate the large-mass warhead to an extremely high speed while the Storm Needle was reloading ammunition. Although all objects in hyperspace have a speed limit, and the Gauss cannon itself is also a shield-breaking weapon. But this speed limit is only incomparable to the high speed in the normal universe environment, and it is still very fast in hyperspace. It is nothing more than that it is impossible to achieve the optimal balance between mass loss and speed caused by the mass void effect in the normal universe environment, but it can still exert a certain power. And with the Storm Needle to break the shield in advance, and relying on the power of the weapon itself to shatter the Law Enforcer's armor. Weapons such as Gauss cannon can also have a terrifying effect on the hull of the spacecraft. As expected, the first heavy projectile fired by the ruler's Gauss cannon directly cut the entire Law Enforcer in half. The second projectile fired by another Gauss cannon passed through and completely shattered the remaining 2 halves. The scene of the military fighting against each other made Chen Ming a little dumbfounded and silently removed the quotation marks on the word rebellion in his mind. The flagship of the military fleet was destroyed, and the military fleet, which was still redeploying its position, fell into complete chaos. But soon, the entire military command system was regained by the ruler. After all, this was originally the force provided by the station master to the commander. Even if all his confidants had been sent away, it would not be too difficult to forcibly take over with the ruler's equipment. However, even if he regained control, it would still be difficult to make the military fleet obey his orders again. For example, how could he make the army ignore this and continue to obey him when the commander had clearly stated that the station master had launched a rebellion and announced documents with dual certification from the Star Region military government? As for this plan, the station master had already had a plan in mind. As long as you dare to lower your bottom line, then this matter is actually very simple. There are always some people in the fleet who are afraid of death or don't want to die casually. The battle with the company fleet just now was a battle with hope of victory, so they were willing to take risks to fight. But if it was a conflict with the cruiser, the level difference was enough to make anyone lose the desire to fight. So the station master chose to kill the flagship first, and warned other ships that dared to resist him by killing the chicken to scare the monkey. As long as you are not a fool, you will make a calm choice. The final effect of doing so is uncertain. It is hard to say how many people will obey his orders under the threat of death. But the station master does not need too many ships to obey his command. His main purpose of coming here this time is still to kill Chen Ming. It's just that in hyperspace, heavy cruisers can hardly catch up with normal frigates and destroyers. Even if there is a jump engine in hand, the use of the jump engine is limited. At present, after the station master jumps directly from the military outpost to here, the jump engine can only be used once again within a certain period of time. If an accident occurs in the middle of the journey and Chen Ming escapes from the attack range, then the ruler will no longer have any chance to catch up with the frigate. So the station master must find a way to limit Chen Ming's actions. Regaining control of the army and relying on the army's ships is the best way to do this. As long as there are 3 or 4 ships to help him restrict Chen Ming, then the next jump will be Chen Ming's death. After destroying the flagship where the commander was, the station master immediately regained the command of the entire fleet and asked the fleet to act according to his orders. But as he thought in advance, most of the military ships rejected his request, even ignored him, and began to flee in all directions. Only a small number of them remained in place. The station master controlled the rulers to neither chase the fleeing military ships nor attack them, but just let them leave. But when those who had already stayed in place wanted to leave after noticing the movements of other ships, the station master chose to directly destroy the ships with such ideas. Once on the pirate ship, there is no chance to regret. The station master reorganized the remaining military ships and asked them to hand over the highest control authority. Then let some ships track Chen Ming, and the other part followed the rulers and pressed towards the company fleet that had already been prepared to die. Although Chen Ming has already embarked on the hyperspace route to another galaxy, he is still paying attention to the situation here. He wants to try to find an opportunity to bypass the ruler and attack the equipment that blocks the gravity well. But the ruler is obviously on guard against this, always maintaining his position and not giving any chance. If there is no chance, Chen Ming can only choose to let the armor-piercing attack the ruler. At this time, the company's ships are also desperately protecting the armor-piercing, because they know that this is the only possibility of a comeback. However, after 2 rounds of exchange of fire, just now, more than 40 company fleets have been reduced by more than half. The remaining dozen ships no longer have the cowherd sitting in the seat, nor Chen Ming's centurion. The actual damage caused by the company fleet plus the armor-piercing class only forced the military rulers, whose shields were relatively weak, to turn off the shields, that's all. Seeing that the last chance has come and is about to disappear. At this time, Chen Ming did not care about letting the automatic pulse laser of the armor-piercing fully charge, and directly forced it to be activated when it was half-charged. The station master had already understood the firing interval of the automatic pulse laser, a weapon he had never seen before, in the previous exchange of fire. So Chen Ming's early round of shooting was completely beyond the station master's expectations. Even if the ruler-class shield was deployed at the first time, it was not in time to block the 16 restraining energy bombs. All these energy bombs hit the ruler's hull firmly and hit one of the storm needles. And it also successfully destroyed the storm needle completely. However, the combined attacks of the remaining dozen ships of the company fleet were not enough. They failed to cause any meaningful damage to the ruler's armor. The ruler-class radiation energy had been dissipated by nearly half during the period when the shield was closed, but the station master did not continue to close the shield, but directly launched another round of offensive against the fleet. In this round of one-sided crushing exchange of fire, the armor-piercing class was completely exposed to the ruler class. Its shield only lasted less than 2 seconds before reaching the upper limit of radiation energy capacity. In the end, the armor breaker was destroyed in the middle, just like the commander's enforcer. Although it was still on Chen Ming's panel at this time, Chen Ming did not have the materials to repair it, nor did he have the opportunity to repair it. The battle was decided. Chen Ming was forced to stop observing the battlefield and continue to control the iron or forward. Although the ruler had been thrown far away, it still had a chance to start the jump engine. After destroying the armor breaker, the only ship that could threaten the gravity well blockade, now was the best time to start the jump. Visible fluctuations suddenly appeared in the space next to the ruler. Less than 2 seconds later, it appeared right in front of the hyperspace channel where Chen Ming was moving forward. And those ships that had been forcibly taken away from the highest control authority were now blocking the entrance of the hyperspace channel where Chen Ming was. The ruler was in sight, and the crisis of death was about to come. However, Chen Ming was not panicking at this time, he had delayed enough time. Between the iron ore and the ruler, a space distortion exactly like the one that occurred when the ruler jumped over just now suddenly appeared. What appeared now was not the ruler. Instead, it was a fleet of Yuhui led by 2 Yuhui cruisers. The Yuhui fleet certainly did not appear here inexplicably. When Chen Ming contacted Gamma AI before, this matter had basically been decided. Chen Ming contacted Gamma AI before, not to let them prepare to rescue Chen Ming personally, but to let them go back to Yuhui's colony. Let them prepare to do 2 things. The first thing was to let Gamma A contact the Alpha AI core that controlled the cruiser and was familiar with it. When Chen Ming gave the reminder, he handed over all the news that Chen Ming wanted to cooperate with Yuhui, as well as the evidence that Chen Ming was hunted by the human military and had to stay away from the human world. He expressed Chen Ming's intention to cooperate with Yuhui to Yuhui's Alpha core. Gamma A and Chen Ming said that Yuhui AI could completely rejoin the human race without losing face and just the inside, and Yuhui and the others could also accept Chen Ming as a human. And the Gamma B installed by Chen Ming on the fighter Kai was the best evidence that Chen Ming wanted to cooperate. In addition, Chen Ming's ability to control the spacecraft, even if Yuhui had doubts and fears about whether Chen Ming could directly control their core, he would not kill Chen Ming directly. It was nothing more than that Gamma A would be thoroughly reviewed and investigated to make sure that Gamma A was not controlled and influenced by Chen Ming, and to confirm the authenticity of Gamma A's words. At the same time, some restrictions may be made on Chen Ming's abilities in the future, such as not being allowed to contact Yuhui AI individuals or ships with Yuhui AI installed. However, Chen Ming can be sure of one thing, that is, there will be no psychic fluctuations when he controls the spaceship. After the boss said that he helped him cover up the psychic fluctuations that he usually emits, Chen Ming specifically asked the boss about this issue. The boss said that he didn't know why Chen Ming didn't have psychic fluctuations when controlling the spaceship, but psychics have all kinds of abilities, and it's normal for some to be special. So Chen Ming is not worried at all that Yuhui, who is weak in psychic research, can detect anything from Gamma A. And Chen Ming also believes that when facing a psychic surrender, these abilities to control, repair, and strengthen the spaceship are enough for Yuhui to see the value in it, and enough for them to take this risk. Another thing is to let Gamma B contact Yuhui Alpha Core, which it has mentioned before, to collect spiritual stones. In exchange for a spiritual stone in Chen Ming's hand, it will have the opportunity to come to rescue. Chen Ming doesn't need Gamma B to tell him that he is coming to rescue. He just needs to ask Gamma B to contain the ruler. But Chen Ming remembered that after Gamma A was dealt with, he did not ask Gamma B to call for help or the AI. 2 Afterglow cruisers came at once. What was going on? The 2 cruisers completely protected Chen Ming in the rear. Among the fleet that followed the 2 cruisers, there happened to be a Gamma A-equipped refraction. Refraction directly activated the electromagnetic capture cabin, protecting Chen Ming's iron ore inside it, and then retreated to a position far away from the ruler. On the front, the confrontation between the ruler and the Yuhui fleet had already begun. One of the 2 cruisers of Yuhui was a cruiser that Chen Ming had seen before, which was used to attack space stations and military outposts. The other one was something Chen Ming had never seen before, and the model was different from the cruisers Chen Ming knew, and it looked wider. However, the appearance of the spacecraft was not important. What was important was that the distance between the 2 sides was close enough that all weapons could attack each other. Although the ruler had a storm needle destroyed by the armor-piercing class before, it still chose to take the initiative to use the remaining 3 large weapons to fire at the Yuhui cruiser that was closer to it. The powerful shield-breaking ability brought by a storm needle and 2 Gauss cannons caused a large number of shock waves to appear on the shield of the Afterglow cruiser. High-intensity armor-piercing weapons are also a great threat to the shield of Afterglow, which has a top-level radiation energy system, as long as all hits can directly break its shield. But the 2 Afterglow cruisers are not sitting ducks. They also have the ability to fight back. And the 2 cruisers have a total of 6 large load-bearing points, and all of them are equipped with tachyon spears. The pirate space station is difficult to resist the attack of a cruiser's tachyon spear. And when the ruler faces the attack of 6 tachyon spears without any interference and can fully concentrate fire, it is completely inferior to the performance of the space station. The ruler's shield is instantly overloaded, and there is no time to react. Terrifying arcs burst out from the upper and lower parts of the ruler's ship. Even if it has an overload protection device inside, such an arc will definitely cause casualties to the personnel inside. However, the energy torrent continued, and after defeating the shield, it continued to bombard the front armor of the ruler. 6 energy torrents directly melted the front armor of the ruler, leaving a large piece of white traces and a large amount of molten iron splashing into space. However, when the energy torrent ended, Chen Ming suddenly discovered that the front armor of the ruler class had not been completely broken even now. The ruler directly resisted the attack of the main weapons of the 2 afterglow cruisers. If it had not been because it had not had time to close the shield just now, it might still have room for counterattack. However, Chen Ming could also understand why the ruler did not turn on the automatic protection device for radiation overload. After all, this device is too rigid. After the radiation capacity is close to the total upper limit, no matter what the actual situation is, it will directly force the shield of the spacecraft to be closed. If the enemy just launched a single high-intensity attack, such as a Reaper torpedo, just when the radiation capacity is about to overload, then relying on the shield to forcibly block it is definitely the best choice, rather than shutting down the shield and letting the hull take a hit. So under normal circumstances, manually controlling the shield of the spacecraft is definitely the best solution. But the ruler obviously didn't expect that the spacecraft would be overloaded directly after a face-to-face encounter. So this situation was caused. Even if they withstood a wave of concentrated fire from Yuhui, it was too late to fight back. After overloading the ruler, a cruiser in the Yuhui fleet directly started the flash engine that Chen Ming had seen before and flashed to the back of the ruler class. While the ruler was still flashing arcs, the cooled tachyon spear had already attacked its engine. The ruler, without any support units, had no power to resist when it was paralyzed. Under the continuous attack of the tachyon spear, the ruler class suddenly had a violent implosion. From the stern to the hull to the bow, all were occupied by the surging flames. The entire ship turned into a graveyard of fire. Only the hull with sufficient strength remained intact as the grave of the ruler crew. The Yuhui cruiser stopped attacking. Then, a large number of ordinary Yuhui ships immediately approached the ruler. Chen Ming saw many engineering ships among them. While extinguishing the fire on the ruler, some special equipment was installed on its exterior. If Chen Ming was not mistaken, those devices should be used for jump engine resonance. This equipment can allow large mass objects without spacecraft engines to resonate with the jump engine and move over long distances instantly. While the Yuhui ships were performing this task, Chen Ming's iron ore suddenly received a communication request. The source was another Yuhui cruiser with a wider hull that Gamma A did not recognize. Chen Ming knew that the most critical moment was coming, Yuhui's final confirmation of him. But Chen Ming actually had nothing to worry about. He did not tell anyone that he could control AI, but only said that his ability was to control the spacecraft. Although Yuhui was not sure whether he believed it or not, Chen Ming had seen Yuhui conduct a comprehensive review of Gamma A when he was observing the situation on Gamma A's side before. The result was naturally that no abnormalities were found, and Gamma A was still Gamma A. And Gamma A Chen Ming was absolutely sure that it would not betray him. Therefore, Yuhui could not be sure whether Chen Ming had the ability to control the AI core. That's why they came. As for what they would do when they came, Chen Ming had also thought about it carefully and also determined the risks of his doing so through Gamma A. Chen Ming would not commit suicide under normal circumstances. He knew that when preparing a backup, it was very necessary to confirm the stability and safety of the backup. So Chen Ming had followed the thinking logic of Gamma A, a member of Yuhui, and determined several possible ways for Yuhui to deal with Chen Ming himself in the future. And among the most likely ways of dealing with him, there was no one who would kill him directly. Yuhui is not 100% sure whether Chen Ming has the ability to directly control Yuhui individuals, and Chen Ming's other abilities are quite valuable to Yuhui. Considering the two aspects together, killing him directly without doing anything must be the worst way. And through Gamma A's thinking, Chen Ming can also be sure of one thing. Even if Yuhui is sure that Chen Ming has such an ability, they will not necessarily be afraid or resist. They are also capable of restricting Chen Ming. The simplest way is to never give Chen Ming the opportunity to contact Yu Hui's AI. The fact that Chen Ming can only control the spacecraft by touch is Chen Ming's biggest limitation, and it is also a point that can be confirmed very easily. As long as Chen Ming cannot contact the Yu Hui ship equipped with the Yu Hui core, the risk of Chen Ming's ability can be controlled within the acceptable range of Yu Hui. Anyway, if you want Chen Ming's ability to be brought into play, it does not mean that Chen Ming must control the spacecraft himself, or control the spacecraft with Yu Hui individuals. Yu Hui can only let Chen Ming conduct research on spacecrafts and develop the blueprint of new spacecrafts for them to manufacture themselves, or give Chen Ming some sample spaceships to test with his ability. Giving the tested spaceships directly to Chen Ming or melting them for recycling are ways to avoid possible dangers. So Yu Hui's final decision still depends on whether the risks and benefits on Chen Ming are equal. In addition, Chen Ming also confirmed with Gamma A whether Yu Hui might think he was a spy sent by humans. Gamma A said that Chen Ming was not sure whether Yu Hui would really come to support. If this scene is not played well, then he will completely lose the possibility of entering Yu Hui. In addition, there are such psychics who do not want to control the paralyzed Yu Hui on the battlefield or after the battle, but instead think of more dangerous spies. This idea is definitely problematic, unless humans have the capital to do so, such as two Chen Mings. But if humans really have two psychics with such abilities, it is recommended that Yu Hui click directly. Although the last sentence was polished by Chen Ming himself, Gamma A's meaning is similar. In short, since Yu Hui is here, he will not worry too much about the harm of Chen Ming's ability. This is a risk they must take. Chen Ming connected the communication. The emotionless voice of the text-to-speech conversion device sounded on the iron ore. "Hello, Chen Ming. Hello. We received the proposal you conveyed to us through Gamma A, so we are here." You also call it Gamma A? No. Each Yu Hui individual has its own number, and the name is decided by the individual. If he is willing to use the name you give, we will call him that. Then how should I call you? And the other one? You can directly call my ship model Brilliant, and you must ask the other one yourself. Its ship model is Brilliant. Brilliant class cruiser and Brilliant class cruiser. Chen Ming silently memorized these two ship models. He didn't know much about Yu Hui, so he still had to pay more attention to this aspect of knowledge. Hui Huang had no intention of arguing with Chen Ming Xian and said directly, "Let's get down to business." Since humans have always been relatively lenient towards the captured Yu Hui individuals, we will also give humans some preferential treatment accordingly. So, we have considered your proposal very seriously and responded with a positive attitude, but we still have some things to confirm with you. The result of the confirmation will determine the result of your proposal. No problem, go ahead. We need you to explain why Gamma A concealed and protected you during your first contact with Gamma A. Is it such a sharp question right at the beginning? Chen Ming thought quickly in his heart. But this point actually has an answer. Lying can't change anything. So Chen Ming said directly, "For the spaceship controlled by me, I can directly cross any restrictions and obtain the highest control of the spaceship, and no one can take it away." So at that time, I forcibly controlled all the equipment on the spaceship and read the records that Gamma A had sent, so that all Yu Hui thought that the refraction I controlled was controlled by Gamma A. After having a deeper understanding, Gamma A and I reached a consensus that both parties could cooperate. Huang Hui did not directly point out the problem in Chen Ming's answer, but directly asked the second question. Do you have the ability to control the Yu Hui AI core? No, Yu Hui AI has its own consciousness, and my ability cannot control it. Chen Ming decisively chose to conceal it. If he told the truth, he would definitely be stupid. But whether he admitted it or not, Yu Hui must have doubts about whether Chen Ming had this ability. Even if there is clear evidence to prove that Chen Ming really can't control Yu Hui AI, Yu Hui can't completely give up this speculation, otherwise Yu Hui is really a fool. So Chen Ming's answer is actually not important. Just as Chen Ming thought, Alpha AI didn't care about Chen Ming's answer after asking, and continued to the next question. We need the details of your ability. We know that humans have specific psychic agencies to test psychics. We need your test report. Huang Hui's question stumped Chen Ming. He explained, I haven't systematically studied psychic knowledge, nor have I been tested by a testing agency. The meaning of my predecessor who guided me in psychic power is that systematic learning of naturally awakened psychics will lower the upper limit of development. So I can only give you a general introduction to my abilities. I don't know the details myself. Huang Hui didn't force Chen Ming on this, but just said, please speak. Chen Ming organized his words a little and explained his abilities selectively. After all, this is the key to his value to Yu Hui in the future. If it is too low, Yu Hui might choose to kill the risk in the cradle. But he will definitely not say what he shouldn't say. After answering this question, Hui Huang asked a few more questions that sounded insignificant. They were all about Chen Ming himself, and not enough. They also included a few strange questions about Chen Ming's views on Yu Hui. In the end, Hui Huang also gave Chen Ming a definite answer. Yu Hui agreed to Chen Ming's joining. In fact, when Yu Hui was willing to come to the rescue, this ending was basically foreseeable, as long as Chen Ming didn't talk nonsense. And Chen Ming also knew that this chat was not the main verification and test. The real big head is still behind, Chen Ming's performance after going to Yu Hui's place. After Hui Huang gave Chen Ming an answer of agreement, he suddenly said, in addition, there are some necessary conditions that must be explained to you. The words necessary conditions in Hui Huang's words made Chen Ming more serious, waiting for Hui Huang's next words. It's about your future arrangements. Chen Ming pricked up his ears and listened carefully. This treatment and what Chen Ming could get from Yu Hui later would determine how long he would stay with Yu Hui before seeking help from others to get him out of Yu Hui. Just like how you humans treat our captured Yu Hui individuals. Work for us on the basis of meeting the most basic survival needs and normal physiological needs. Chen Ming was a little unsure about how much the survival needs and physiological needs of the person actually were, so he asked, is there a more specific statement? Yes, it's based on the Earth's standard time, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and 8 hours of free time. Chen Ming was stunned for a moment. If he had just escaped from the mining space station and arrived at the pirate space station, he would have been very happy to become a complete rapist. But now he still has many ideas to realize. So although Yu Hui's job is very tempting, it is not enough to attract Chen Ming to stay forever. He still has to find a way to get enough benefits from Yu Hui to prepare for his own future. Without getting Chen Ming's answer, Hui Huang asked, are there any problems? No, there are no problems. Okay, we will investigate you for a while, and Gamma A will continue to contact you. If you need anything, you can directly mention it to him. Chen Ming was quite satisfied with the result, although the current situation was caused by the military's coercion and threats. But his choice to join Yu Hui was not only an opportunity for Yu Hui, but also an opportunity for him. Chen Ming believed that he would be able to grasp it. After the communication ended, Hui Huang sent a short message to the galaxy where the replica of the Kleka computer that Chen Ming had seen on the map was located through the equipment on the ship. The risk level is high to low, the benefits are extremely high, and more actual investigation is needed. The risk and value of Chen Ming are acceptable to Yu Hui, so there is such a message reply. In addition, Yu Hui actually prepared some backups if the advanced Yu Hui AI core was really controlled by Chen Ming. However, this backup was not used, and they also confirmed that Chen Ming did not have the ability to remotely control. So Chen Ming's risk was written as high to low in the message. Soon, Hui Huang received a reply, and this reply was also a very short sentence. Yu Hui needs an overall improvement. Chen Ming was not clear about Yu Hui's internal communication, but he could probably guess it, which was basically an assessment of him. By the way, he could also guess how long it would take for Yu Hui's other work ships to install the destroyed ruler. So while Yu Hui still needed some time to work, and Chen Ming had nothing to do for the time being, he thought about it and decided to go back along the hyperspace channel. Take a look at the current situation near the galaxy hyperspace. Chen Ming made a request to Hui Huang, and Hui Huang did not refuse, and sent other spaceships to accompany him. There was protection, but also to prevent Chen Ming from escaping and running away with the help of Yu Hui's relationship. Under the protection of some Yu Hui ships, Chen Ming returned to the place where the battle just took place. At this time, the gravity well blockade device had been destroyed. All military ships had disappeared. After all, they had lost the command of the commander before, and the station master forcibly took away the control of the command system. Those who had run away in advance had already run away, and those who failed to run away the first time also ran away as soon as the ruler was destroyed. They urgently needed to sever their relationship with the rebellious station master. The company fleet was gathering, and at the same time, they were trying to rescue the survivors on other destroyed spacecraft. Chen Ming deliberately avoided them. He now had Chu Guang's shell on the outside and was escorted by the Yuhui fleet, so it was not easy for him to appear next to them directly. The remaining dozen or so remnant ships were definitely not capable of rescuing him from Yuhui's hands. In addition, the cattle herder had just been destroyed, and the captain was not sure whether he was dead or alive. Chen Ming had no way to contact someone who could command all the company's ships on the spot. He simply did not contact him and just assumed that he was taken away by Yuhui. While the company fleet was on alert, Chen Ming controlled Chu Guang and took the escorting Yuhui warship to take the initiative to bypass them and go to the location where the military fleet had gathered after the ceasefire. Chen Ming planned to look for the special law enforcer destroyed by the ruler. Brilliant and the others looked down on this kind of ship, only the ruler. However, Chen Ming still had ideas about this ship. Chu Guang quickly arrived at the location where the law enforcer was destroyed just now. The crushed law enforcer had drifted away, leaving only the wreckage that looked like space junk. Chen Ming planned to let Chu Guang take some of them away. After all, he couldn't fight a battle and get nothing, and lose the armor breaker and centurion in vain. However, Chen Ming's main target was not the wreckage, but the escape pods around the wreckage that were launched before the law enforcer was destroyed. After scanning with sensors, Chen Ming found a total of 63 escape pods near the wreckage of the law enforcer. The remaining military personnel directly abandoned these people when they retreated. Yuhui would not take the initiative to capture these escape pods under normal circumstances. So, Chen Ming planned to take them all away. There are two reasons. One is that Chen Ming saw a special person in these escape pods. A person wearing a military uniform different from others. A person who can suppress the fleet with Chen Ming's ability with his command technology. The other reason is that Chen Ming needs some bargaining chips. Whether this bargaining chip is for Yuhui, the military, or even the company, it is better to have a little bit. The commander is definitely the best bargaining chip. Anyway, Chen Ming also has the ability to open all the panels of the controlled spacecraft by relying on the panel. It is not impossible to weld a steel plate on the outside of these escape pods to prevent the people inside from getting out. Chen Ming does not need to worry about the people in the escape pods dying of starvation or thirst. Because if he remembers correctly, all escape pods should be equipped with a special one-time freezing hibernation device. This special hibernation device will automatically start 2 days after the escape pod is launched, to ensure that the people inside can survive if they cannot be rescued in a short time. And again, Chen Ming can't just let 2 ships be smashed and leave empty-handed. It was the military that caused all this. Chen Ming tried to get some compensation, and the compensation was the prisoners of these military personnel, which should be no problem. All 63 escape pods were quickly captured. Some of the wreckage of the law enforcers were also captured, which might be useful later. Chen Ming himself also had 2 destroyed ships, the Centurion and the Armor Breaker. However, the Centurion had been completely shattered and was not worth saving. Although the Armor Breaker was broken into 2 sections, there were still some on the panel, but Chen Ming thought about it and did not try to take it away. The reason was also very simple. He did not have the material to repair the Armor Breaker that had been damaged like this. It would be better to keep it and wait for the company or government to come and take the ship away to see if they would repair it. It would be best to repair it. If not, Chen Ming could also determine the location of the Armor Breaker, and there would still be a chance to take it away in the future. Chen Ming had done what he had to do. Yuhui had also installed the jump engine resonance device on the destroyed ruler. Chu Guang returned to the Yuhui fleet. As the jump engines of the 2 cruisers drove the other ships in the fleet to resonate, Chen Ming's field of vision gradually lengthened. In the last second, when he could still see the surrounding environment, Chen Ming suddenly found that another cruiser had entered the hyperspace. And that cruiser seemed to have the mark of the Cinda Company. However, they were one step slower. No, it should be several steps slower. If it weren't for the Yuhui fleet that Chen Ming had managed to get, the current support of the Cinda Company would only be here to collect his body. Chen Ming didn't know what to say for a while. The company really valued him very much and gave him a lot of protection. But in the end, he could only rely on his own means of contact to save himself. In the end, it seemed that only Chen Ming himself could be relied on. Time didn't give Chen Ming the opportunity to think more. The jump started completely. After more than 10 seconds, Chen Ming once again saw the galaxy where the Yuhui colony he had been to was located. In the hyperspace of the galaxy where the pirate space station is located. The start of the jump engine of the Afterglow fleet has come to the last minute, and the fleet led by the Defender-class cruiser of the Cinda Company has barely arrived. They have no way to stop it, so they can only watch the Afterglow fleet leave and shift their attention to other places in the hyperspace. After contacting the remaining company fleet in the hyperspace and investigating what happened before, the captain and commander of the cruiser immediately transmitted the situation in the entire galaxy back to the company headquarters. At the Cinda Company headquarters in the Asconia galaxy, in the meeting room on the top floor of the headquarters building, where the meeting should have ended long ago, all the directors are still gathered here, waiting for the result. On the projection screen in the meeting room, the appearance of the Defender Captain is displayed. The chairman had already listened to the Defender Captain's explanation of the situation in hyperspace. Although he was a little anxious, he still kept a calm face and asked the captain, "What do you mean that the military's ruler class may have been killed by Yuhui's cruiser? I need Chen Ming's information." Faced with the chairman's question, the Defender Captain lowered his head slightly and said, "According to the information provided by the surviving cowherd captain, Chen Ming did enter this hyperspace channel. But after our search, we only found some wreckage fragments of the ruler inside the channel. There is no mining ship wreckage, and no traces were left. Combined with the situation that when we first arrived at the target location, we only saw a fleet of Yuhui that had already reached the final stage of the jump, we can only speculate that Yuhui killed the ruler of the military who was chasing Chen Ming. We are not 100% sure about the situation afterwards." The chairman's eyes stayed on the captain for a moment and said, "Leave some ships to continue searching, and other ships will be responsible for rescue work. The military will definitely send spacecrafts later. Contact me then." Yes. The screen projection was terminated. The projections of other directors in the conference room focused their attention on the chairman again. The chairman cleared his throat and said, "Let's rule out the possibility that Chen Ming was killed by Yu Hui and the entire spaceship was wiped out. Although Chen Ming's spaceship was converted from a civilian mining ship, it is certain that he mixed Baiyun steel into the material. This material cannot be directly annihilated even when facing the attack of the tachyon spear, so this possibility is ruled out first." A director followed the chairman's line of thought and said, "Then there is only one possibility left. Yu Hui took Chen Ming away." Another director agreed and said, "I think this possibility is indeed very high. But there is a big difference between being taken away by Yu Hui and being captured or leaving on their own. Haven't we discussed the possibility of Chen Ming's ability before? He has the ability to control all spaceships, and Yu Hui's spaceship is also a spaceship." The directors present basically had some ideas about this conjecture in their minds. A director immediately asked the question he had thought of before. But if he can already control a cruiser-class ship, is there any need for him to return to the company, even putting himself in danger of being hunted down? We all know his experience. We can't say that he suddenly has some special purpose for no reason, right? The director's question immediately attracted a rebuttal from the director who had just proposed this idea. "In fact, I don't think he can control the cruiser yet. The use of psychic power always requires the support of mental power. He has awakened his psychic power for at most half a year. Even a talented psychic can't cover an entire cruiser with his mental power after awakening for half a year." Are you sure? This is the upper limit determined by human physical fitness. I have a say in this regard. The director said so, and no one else had any opinion on it. At this time, the chairman, who was listening to the director's discussion, also spoke up. "My opinion is that Chen Ming definitely has the ability to control Yue AI. And Yuhui's fleet was contacted by Chen Ming through the Yuhui AI on the Yuhui spaceship he once controlled. Why did Yuhui come? The chairman immediately replied, it was Chen Ming's ability. Then Yuhui is not worried that Chen Ming will control them in turn? The chairman immediately gave another answer. If Yuhui and the others were worried about this, they shouldn't have appeared in the first place. Letting Chen Ming die there is not the easiest and most convenient choice for Yuhui. Even if they are worried that Chen Ming will not die, wouldn't it be better to wait until the military fails after the action and then come out to give Chen Ming a final blow? Indeed. I think so too. The chairman's statement was recognized by several directors. So I think it is likely that Chen Ming chose to call for Yuhui's rescue when he was forced to the last by the ruler. This is the only completely unrestricted force near the edge star field that can support him. Wait a minute, it may not be certain when it comes to this. What about Wuan? The chairman's question made the directors present look at the director who managed the pirate space station. He just spread his hands and said, I asked, and he gave me an answer that he knew. I don't know what he did. Is it possible that it wasn't Yuhui, but he who rescued him? He is not a psychic who can rescue people personally. When our ship arrived, there was no sign of conflict with Yuhui except the ruler. It shouldn't be. Maybe he has other arrangements? The arrangement that almost killed Chen Ming? The chairman reached out and knocked on the table lightly, interrupting the discussion about what Wuan had done, and said, don't guess. It's definitely impossible to guess. We don't know what the people in the psychic society did. Maybe he has rescued Chen Ming somewhere else. And now all the evidence we have found has completely pointed to Yuhui, so let's assume that it was Yuhui who took Chen Ming away, and then consider other things. Of course, we have to pay more attention to the situation on Wuan's side during this process. The director who was in charge of the pirate space station nodded and said nothing. Another director asked, what should we do now? Go find Yuhui? Attack him? Other directors answered for the chairman directly, we can't beat them, right? Even if Yuhui only has a small wave, we can't handle it. We can use the thing in the test. We should be able to try it. The combat effectiveness is guaranteed. The chairman directly rejected the director's proposal and said, this is the key to our company's competition with several old companies. It is still in the research and development stage and must not be used. Even if we have it, doesn't Yuhui have it? Just raid them like Yuhui raided us before. If the efficiency is high enough, we shouldn't collide with them. The chairman glanced at the director who proposed it and said, okay, if we agree to call, where are you going to find Chen Ming? Do you have Yuhui's star map? Do you know which star system has Yuhui's colony after passing the buffer zone? Do you know where Chen Ming was taken by Yuhui? Finding someone is just empty talk now. And Chen Ming's current situation, I am very curious about what he thinks about Yuhui's side, whether he wants to stay with Yuhui forever or whether he still has the intention to come back. Although there is pressure from the outside environment, since Chen Ming has prepared a backup plan for Yuhui's rescue, he must have considered what he will do after going to Yuhui's side. This is information we can't confirm at all. The chairman paused for a while, sighed slightly in his heart, and said, Chen Ming can contact us with the spaceship he controls, but we can only send the information we want to convey to his spaceship. It's really uncertain when he will see it, and when he will reply after seeing it. We can only wait for Chen Ming to contact us now. So instead of waiting and wasting time, we might as well do other things first. To take back our galaxy and our space station, we need to do more than just bring Chen Ming back. And even if there is no Chen Ming, after learning that there is sky steel production in the galaxy, we must do whatever it takes to take back the galaxy. Compared to the past, now is definitely the best time. In addition, we also have the escort fleet that needs rescue, the government that needs explanation, and the military that needs explanation. These are new things, and the company's original work needs to be continued. There is no end to what needs to be done. The director sitting on the left of the chairman stood up and said, then I will continue to contact the government and explain the matter of the armor-piercing ship. Otherwise, the company's business will be difficult in the future. Chen Ming's situation must also be made clear. We will definitely not be able to keep Chen Ming in the future, and it will be difficult to bring Chen Ming back in person. Since it is not certain whether Chen Ming can come back alive in the end, then use up the last value of his stay. We have lost a lot. At least we can't even make back the losses. The chairman opened his mouth slightly, but finally did not speak. Watching the director leave the meeting after he finished speaking, another director suddenly noticed a key word in the chairman's words and asked, "Chairman, what do you mean by the best opportunity?" This is related to the situation on the military side. The chairman looked at the director in charge of military-related affairs. Although there are military factions in the company, he can be sure that all directors, including this director, are absolutely firm company factions. The middle management of the company may have some thoughts because of the temptation of some interest from the military. But the company's top executives, especially the top executives, that is, the board of directors, all know that the military is a hungry wolf that eats people without leaving any bones. The mining space station is the best evidence. If you sell the company in exchange for your own interests, you will definitely be completely swallowed by the military in the end. The director in charge of military affairs saw the chairman looking at him and said, "The situation on the military side is very strange. They should have created that rebel themselves." That person was originally the station master of the military outpost. He has a very high authority within the army and is also an old soldier. There is no reason for him to suddenly rebel and take away a ruler to chase Chen Ming. It is speculated that they thought that the ship they sent out at the beginning was not enough to kill Chen Ming, and then in order to complete this task, they asked people to rebel and cause trouble. Although the military has a high authority, the matter of mobilizing cruisers still needs to be approved. Unless their outpost is attacked by Yuhui like before, other places can immediately bypass the approval process and directly move the cruiser. But Yuhui didn't come before, so they used this method. After the director explained, he said puzzledly, "I really don't understand how they can do such a thing. And they seem to have been complacent for too long, and they don't even want to understand the information outside the star zone. There is something wrong with their brains. They dare to provoke people from there." The director who just asked the chairman a question said, "Do you mean that the rebel destroyed the ship of the person who came from there?" "Yes, that's why I said they have a problem with their brains and provoked people they shouldn't provoke. So there will definitely be a big change in the military of the star zone later, and this is our best chance to take back the space station." At the same time as the board meeting of Shinda Company ended, the Stargate near the colony planet where the capital of the star region is located suddenly started. The huge ring-shaped Stargate lit up with the glow caused by the energy required for the Stargate to start. Then in the center of the ring structure of the Stargate, a film like a chaotic starry sky appeared. A few minutes later, Ruler flew out of the Stargate with a fleet of exactly 100 ships. This special ruler, which is very different from ordinary rulers, did not stop at the capital of the star region. It led the fleet to turn around and leave the star system and enter the hyperspace. In the center of the command room of this ruler, a three-dimensional image of a star system was projected. The star system located in the middle of the projection is a planet full of volcanoes and unstable geological structures. This is the Gallo 2-star region where the pirate space station is located, the main station of the military. The fleet led by the special ruler entered the hyperspace channel. And in the only military colony on this planet, under the protection of the ecological dome, the headquarters building of the Star Region military. In the office of the Supreme Commander, an Imperial Major General, the adjutant in a neat military uniform was reporting the situation to the Major General whose hair was already a little gray behind the desk. There were two other people listening next to them, also wearing military uniforms. It can be determined from the shoulder straps that one of them is a colonel and the other is a lieutenant colonel. The adjutant did not shy away from them and said directly, "The ruler lost the positioning signal and is suspected to have been destroyed. Before losing the signal, there was no report that the mission had been completed." The Major General's forehead was full of wrinkles. He slapped the table and said, "Impossible! Which force in the Edge star field can use the fleet that can destroy the ruler without any movement? Give me their last communication records." The lieutenant colonel next to him reminded, "He rebelled with his confidants and has cut off the connection with us. We can only locate the ruler's approximate position through the background program." The Major General immediately realized that he said the wrong thing in a hurry, but fortunately, everyone in his office was his own people. He adjusted a little and said, "The speed of support from Shinda Company is quite slow. We have also blocked Wuan with other relationships. Who else can help Chen Ming escape?" The lieutenant colonel suddenly thought of something and asked, "Could it be Yu Hui? They have a criminal record." Chen Ming was blocked in hyperspace. Why did Yu Hui go to hyperspace for no reason? The lieutenant colonel shut up and said no more. The military had not yet learned the identity of Chen Ming, the psychic, so they could not understand why the ruler suddenly disappeared. The major general did not get a response from others, so he could only say, "Go find a way to figure out what happened. I want an answer." The adjutant nodded and asked, "Then where should we start?" The major general frowned and looked at the adjutant and said, "Two places. One is the sentry post. It is impossible that all the people who killed Chen Ming in the past are dead. Those who came back must know something. The other is the Shinda Company. You can also try it. Some people in their company have always wanted to have a good relationship with us, and they will always know something." The adjutant noted what the major general said, saluted, and prepared to leave. The major general continued to instruct. "There is also the station chief. He should still be classified as a traitor. Let the station spontaneously recommend a temporary replacement, and we will arrange people later. Now let's find out whether Chen Ming is dead. The output of Sky Steel must not fall into the hands of others." Just as the adjutant opened the office door, the major general suddenly received an emergency communication. He immediately called the adjutant back and read the content of this communication. The emergency communication showed that a fleet that entered the galaxy from hyperspace without approval appeared in their galaxy. The flagship of the fleet is a ruler, but its size is nearly one-third larger than the ruler that the Star Zone military also has. And the armor of this ruler has a clear orange-yellow paint, and also has the emblem of a spread-wing eagle and a logo. The mark of the 14th Legion? What's the situation with that ruler? Is it a new model? Why did it enter our jurisdiction without approval? The major general asked a series of questions, but the people in the office could not give him an answer. "I have to deal with it." The major general stood up and said to the lieutenant colonel, "You go and increase the wanted list for Chen Ming. Find a way to use your connections to get other star regions to start wanted him, and put some pressure on Shinda. Add some crime of treason and collusion with Yu Hui. Add more serious crimes. And you." The major general looked at the colonel and said, "You continue to appease those who have been urging us to solve the problem because of Chen Ming, and give them more confidence." The lieutenant colonel and the colonel left the office immediately after they responded. The major general took his adjutant to the general command room of the headquarters building. At this time, the large screen in the general command room showed an ongoing communication. On the communication screen, it can be seen that the other party is a soldier wearing the special uniform of the 14th Corps, wearing a pair of glasses, and his rank is also Major General. However, it is obvious that the Major General of the 14th Corps does not want to talk to others. It was not until the Major General arrived at the command room that the Major General of the 14th Corps said, as if notifying, "The military jurisdiction of the Gallo 2-star zone will be taken over by our 14th Corps in the future, and the formal transfer of jurisdiction management rights has been submitted. Major General Guo Hongzhua, please return to the Star Domain military headquarters to report on your work." Guo Hongzhua did not show any special emotions because of the words of the 14th Corps. Instead, he asked, "What's the reason? I have been here for 35 years, and I will retire in 2 years. What does it mean to suddenly ask me to go back to report on my work? The star zone where a traitor appeared and lost a cruiser should be yours, right? This alone is enough for you to go back?" Guo Hongzhua's face suddenly froze. He had obviously passed on the responsibility of this matter to other people who could take responsibility through the relationship in the Star Domain Joint War Zone, which is a higher level than the Star Domain military. In this way, although he has some faults, he should not be sent back directly. And the person who helped him do this is definitely a trustworthy person, and he should not be questioned. Guo Hongzhua said with some disbelief, "Although I have some responsibility for the traitor, it should not be to this extent." The Major General of the 14th Corps pushed his glasses, and the reflection of the lenses made it difficult for everyone in the Star Zone military command room to see his eyes clearly. "It's true that it's not, But I don't know if you have ever heard of the smuggling that the military zone took the initiative to do. Someone sent the report file to the inspection team, and the inspection team found many problems after verification. The Major General of the 14th Corps simply named several military-controlled items and reported several locations, dates, and times. As Guo Hongzhuo listened, some cold sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. Because the few smuggling cases mentioned by the Major General of the 14th Corps happened to be the ones in which he made the most profit. But he still said with some reluctance, "If we did something wrong, it should be examined by the inspectors. Your direct army has no right to point fingers at the local army. What right do you have to do these things? Where are the documents of the inspectors? First of all, you call this a wrong thing? You may have some misunderstandings about doing something wrong. What you did should be brought to the military court. Secondly, the documents just sent to you are the documents of the inspectors. Finally, the inspectors were driven back by us. This is the temporary duty replacement consent letter with the seals of the inspectors and the Imperial Military Affairs General Administration. Please accept it." For simple sentences, each of which made more sweat overflow from the forehead of the Major General. He had never heard that the once weak 14th Legion could do this. In other words, he had been here for more than 30 years and had only heard about the reorganization of the 14th Legion once. Could it be that after that reorganization, the 14th Legion had such a big change? The Major General of the 14th Legion obviously would not give any explanation for this. Anyway, the contents of the document were all true. He pushed his glasses again, revealing his terrifying eyes to everyone. "The reason why we sent the inspection team back and came here in person is that we lost one person here. It seems that he was killed by your traitor." The threat in the eyes of the Major General of the 14th Legion was almost overflowing. For soldiers who violate the law and military discipline, the Imperial Independent 14th Legion now has the power to investigate this. The communication was hung up. The entire fleet, composed of ships modified by the 14th Legion itself, led by the special ruler of the 14th Legion, has appeared in the orbit of the planet, in the industrial colony star system of Yuhui. After arriving, the Yuhui fleet led by Hui Huang and Hui Yao dispersed as if they had completed the mission before. Hui Huang, who was responsible for the preliminary examination of Chen Ming, left the star system and entered the hyperspace. Hui Yao took Chu Guang, who protected Chen Ming's iron ore in his stomach, to the circumstellar orbit of the industrial colony planet that Chen Ming had visited before. Then Hui Huang did not continue to land in the colony, but directly let Chu Guang take Chen Ming to the giant industrial zone that occupied 1/5 of the planet. In the corner where the entire industry expanded outward, there was an independent small industrial zone consisting of only 3 factories. Chu Guang's final goal was here. Although this place is relatively remote compared to the core furnace power tower at the core of the industrial zone, Chen Ming thinks it is not bad. At least the environment you usually stay in is definitely better than the inside of the industrial zone full of industrial equipment. When Chu Guang gradually approached the destination, Chen Ming could still see that the 3 factories had a large number of mechanical equipment and robots of various shapes busy at this time. However, it seems that these machines are not busy with the work inside the factory, but are transforming the factory itself. After landing, Chu Guang spit out the iron ore and stopped in the open space in the middle of the 3 factories. The iron ore stopped in the open space next to the project. Chu Guang went directly into the factory from the other side, put the pile of materials he brought and the escape pods that had been sealed by Chen Ming in the factory warehouse, and then left the factory and flew into space. Maybe Yuhui still has something to do. Chen Ming checked the situation of the escape pods when Chu Guang landed just now, and confirmed that all the escape pods had activated the freezing hibernation function. The 2-day automatic start time of the escape pods has not yet arrived, so they should have started it themselves. Chen Ming did not go around to the factory warehouse to touch these escape pods for the time being, but chose to get familiar with the place where he might stay for a while, and then come back to deal with them. However, when Chen Ming got off the ship in protective clothing and was about to enter the factory, he was suddenly stopped by a robot busy in various parts of the factory. Then, Hui Huang, who had just brought him here, contacted him again. The factory still needs some time to be renovated. Please wait on the spaceship for a while. Starting from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, Earth Standard Time, you will be officially assigned tasks and work. If you have any needs, you can contact Gamma A. He will help you contact me, and I can help you get what you need." "Understood," Chen Ming responded, and suddenly felt like he was in the internship period. However, unlike the internship, there is no one now. No, there is no AI to take care of him. Chen Ming turned back to the spaceship and looked at the starry sky outside without the atmosphere and the mechanical equipment that was working. Suddenly, "I missed the time when I had to work in the pirate space station." He shook his head, threw away the memories, and opened the porthole protective plate to isolate the outside environment. There is no need to think too much about the past. He still has to move forward now. Chen Ming returned to the studio of the iron ore, took out the terminal, and placed it in front of him. However, he just opened the terminal and was not in a hurry to use it. Instead, he took the opportunity to check the situation of Gamma A. After leaving the planet of Yuhui colony, Gamma A arrived at the distribution point of the galaxy, which is the space station supporting this industrial colony. Hui Yao class also stopped near this space station at this time. Although Chen Ming could not directly read the thoughts and data of Gamma A's core, he could see that the communication equipment of the refraction was constantly sending and receiving data. It is estimated that Gamma A should be like it once said, reading the data on their communication platform through the network coverage of the space station for future study. At the same time, it should also be communicating with Hui Yao. Hui Yao and Gamma A are friends, so it is normal for Hui Yao to confirm the situation of Gamma A again after Gamma A picks up Chen Ming. Chen Ming would not interrupt at this time. After confirming the situation of Gamma A, he directly changed the perspective to Gamma B. Gamma B is not in the galaxy where Chen Ming is now, but in another place, closer to the core of Yuhui, doing its own thing. Although Gamma B has been out of contact on Yuhui's list, it was investigated by the Yuhui individual in charge of this work as soon as it came back. However, the time of investigating Gamma B was before Chen Ming asked Gamma A to pass his situation to Hui Yao. Therefore, the rigor of the investigation of Gamma B is much easier than that of Gamma A. Gamma B only needs to explain the situation during the period of its loss of contact. That is, after being captured in the battle of the previous mission, it was supposed to be responsible for some work. But a human spaceship maintenance technician was treated unfairly by the forces that obtained Gamma B, and his abilities could not be fully utilized, so he hoped to join Yuhui by contacting Yuhui. However, this maintenance technician had died when he escaped on the fighter Kai, so Gamma B came back by himself in the end. Although Chen Ming himself felt that this statement was ridiculous, it should be a more convincing statement for Yuhui. Because although there have always been conflicts between Yuhui and humans, there has always been a message circulating among those who have the ability to contact Yuhui's AI core. Yuhui will recruit people, especially researchers in various mechanical, electronic, and spaceship technologies on the human side, with very high treatment. It can only be said that humans captured Yuhui's AI core to work for humans, and the captured Yuhui AI will also try to pry people from humans. Although the efficiency is average, after all, Yuhui's place is always worse than humans' own place. However, there are indeed some people who have successfully joined Yuhui and worked for him, including senior engineers and senior researchers. The special tachyon spear modified by Yuhui is, in a sense, their masterpiece. So this is why the board of directors at the Shinda Company's board meeting were not too surprised that Chen Ming suddenly found Yuhui's rescue and ran to Yuhui, and they quickly accepted it. Therefore, in the end, Yuhui AI, which investigated Gamma B, successfully accepted Gamma B's statement. Then, after reading the data of the fighter-modified spacecraft at the cost of a part of the material ration, Gamma B was released. The cosmic environment is changeable, and it is common for Yuhui to lose contact. One day he was captured, and the next day he was paralyzed in space due to a problem with the spacecraft. Or one day he was rescued and escaped back by himself, all of which are normal and possible. If there is no problem after the review, then there is no problem. Therefore, the case of Gamma B driving the Gladiator modified was closed before, and basically no Yuhui would investigate it. So Chen Ming simply gave Gamma B free time, letting it do what it did before and not worry about his affairs for the time being. After all, he can be said to be under the protection of Yuhui now, and there is no need to contact the Alpha AI that purchased the spiritual stone. And since Gamma B has not yet been exposed to the eyes of other Yuhui who are dealing with Chen Ming's affairs, Chen Ming simply let it hide for the time being. A Yuhui hiding in the dark of Yuhui, and like Gamma A, Yuhui is about to be upgraded to the beta core. Who knows what use it will be in the future? Close the panel that can see the situation of the two Gamma AIs. Chen Ming then opened the panel of his spaceship that was still staying in the space station. Chen Ming had a total of 10 spaceships before. They were Iron Ore, Refraction, Armor Breaker, Two Mules, Lumen, Glimmer, Gladiator Modified, Centurion, and Sentinel. At present, the Armor Breaker and the Centurion have been destroyed, and Chu Guang and the Gladiator are now in Yu Hui's territory. Only Two Mules and a Sentinel are left in the space station, quietly parked in the repair shop. Chen Ming looked at each of them, and there was no sign that the 3 spacecraft had been moved by outsiders. And the Sentinel also had the equipment for long-distance communication that he had installed before. When Chen Ming started the equipment, he found that there was a received message inside the communication equipment. It was a message from the company. Let Chen Ming contact them as soon as he sees the message, and they will find a way to bring Chen Ming back. It seems that the company has guessed that he was taken away peacefully by Yu Hui. But Chen Ming was not in a hurry to contact the company, but contacted the boss first. The communication was connected, the boss did not speak, and Chen Ming said the code he had exchanged with the boss before. Chen Ming had told the boss about his ability before, and also said that he could communicate over long distances with the communication equipment. However, in order to prevent someone from disguising their identity by using his spaceship, Chen Ming set up a code and told several people who were familiar with him. After verifying his identity, the boss asked in surprise, "Xiao Ming, how did you survive? I knew that the military had sent a ruler there and thought you were dead." "Luck." "It's not luck. I heard that Yu Hui's cruiser appeared at your place. It should be related to you." Chen Ming did not answer, which was also a tacit agreement. The boss suddenly sighed and said, "Anyway, I apologize to you first. My previous rescue arrangement was blocked by others and did not work. Fortunately, you are fine now, and your safety should be guaranteed at Yu Hui's place." Chen Ming did not care too much about the boss's apology. After all, he took the initiative to say that he did not need the boss's help at the beginning. The boss was already preparing to rescue him when the accident happened, and he had nothing to blame. But Chen Ming is now very curious about who could have stopped the rescue arranged by the boss, so he asked, "Who stopped him?" The boss did not hide this and said, "Other people in my organization." Internal conflict? Not really. It can only be said that our organization is relatively loose. He is also a psychic, and he didn't want me to save you, so he stopped the rescue I arranged. Chen Ming asked puzzledly, "Why? I shouldn't have offended any psychics, right?" Actually, there was, because he is a beneficiary of the military's mining of sky steel, and the sky steel mined by the military will have a part give it to him. It's a pity that I didn't know about this before, otherwise he wouldn't have interfered with your rescue. Chen Ming suddenly fell silent for a while and asked, "What's his name? Where is he? What do you want to do? Write it down first and tell me later." The boss hesitated a little, but still told Chen Ming the name of the psychic and the star system where his colony was located, and said, "If you have any ideas, I will tell you the effect of his psychic power. Don't know too much for now." Chen Ming responded and kept everything the boss said in his heart. "What are your plans for the future?" "My plans?" Chen Ming thought about it and said directly, "Yu Hui attaches great importance to my ability, so I will definitely not be able to come back in a short time. But I don't want to come back either. Yui has a lot of valuable things for me. I'm here now." The boss couldn't help but smile and said, "That's all? In addition, I want to take this opportunity to exercise and develop my abilities. If I had been able to control the cruiser before, or if I had a fleet of my own, I wouldn't have been forced to this point by the military." Chen Ming repeated as if he had made up his mind, "Yes, I want to build a fleet of my own." The boss didn't think it was crazy because Chen Ming wanted to do this alone, but just said, "That's not easy. A fleet is not just about having ships." "Yes, I know it's difficult, but I suddenly feel that only the power I control personally is the most reliable. Since we've talked about this, Chen Ming said, so I'm thinking about whether there is any way to make money. As far as my current situation is concerned, even if I ask for Yuhui, there is no way to completely break away from human society. Money is still very important, whether it is buying ships or buying supplies. And in the future, if I can really build a fleet, how can I solve the problem of bulk supplies? The boss seriously considered Chen Ming's question and said, in fact, since you are out and Yuhui is protecting you, you can try to explore the unknown star field. In recent decades, the Empire has no plans to expand, and there is still a blue ocean outside. Once the buffer zone between us and Yuhui is passed, everything will be gone. It is an unknown star field that has basically not been investigated. If you can bring back a star map, or go deeper and scan the approximate data of the planets and the galaxies on the star map and bring it back, these valuable detailed data of galaxies may be more expensive than a battleship. Oh, no. The boss suddenly interrupted himself and said, I almost forgot that you don't have an exploration ship, no professional scanning equipment, and it's not easy to deal with the hyperspace channel cloud outside. Chen Ming originally had his own thoughts on what the boss said, but after the boss said it was wrong, he also realized the problem. That is, the hyperspace channel is not naturally generated, but is opened up step by people. The interior of the hyperspace itself is filled with endless hyperspace channel clouds, and the density of the internal clouds is not uniform, which means that they can be dispersed. When humans just set foot in hyperspace, humans can only rely on cruisers and even battleships to support the front, and difficultly open up a channel for other small spacecraft to pass. In the process of continuous exploration and research, humans have developed special exploration ships to explore unknown star regions by relying on the properties of hyperspace. Then, for convenience, in addition to the ability to disperse hyperspace clouds, exploration ships are also gradually increasing their ability to explore unknown galaxies. High-power scanning equipment scans the galaxy environment, and refined detection equipment detects the general situation of the planet to determine whether a planet is worth detailed exploration. So far, the hyperspace in the Edge star region is still full of hyperspace clouds, and navigation between galaxies can only rely on waterways. But over in the prosperous star region, the hyperspace clouds have basically completely dispersed, and that is the world that truly belongs to humans. However, although Chen Ming currently does not have the ability to explore unknown galaxies, it may not be the case in the future. So Chen Ming said to the boss, actually, I can ask Yuhui to try. They might be able to give me an exploration ship, but it's probably not convenient for me to go out by myself. But you are capable. The boss helped Chen Ming to continue the conversation and said, since you said so, you should also have this idea. It's always good to explore some valuable planets. Also, do you remember what you did for me before? That pirate? Yes. Remember why I asked you to bring the pirate back? He attacked the fleet that transported goods to your colony. Yes. Do you understand what I mean? You want to acquire the galaxy data I scanned and then build a colony? Almost, but it's not me who builds the colony. It's you who builds the colony. Chen Ming frowned and asked in succession, why do you say that? And why did you suddenly bring this up? Will there really be no problem if the colony is outside the Empire's territory? The boss immediately answered as if he had already prepared a plan. Why is it you who builds the colony instead of me? The reason is very simple. Because I'm lazy. As for the reason for this, it is because in the entire human empire, you can survive in the unknown star field that can go to the empire. As for the question, what do you think will be? Chen Ming immediately said two problems he had just thought of it. Yuhui, there are people. I said, this is not my colony. It is the colonies of the person who is now under Yuhui. I also think, but this depends on you, depending on whether you can get the real attention of Yuhui. As for the problem of people, I can solve it. Your thing is that I am not fully prepared enough to be intercepted, but the colonies who prepare for me in advance will never happen. You know, a perfect self-sufficient colony is an existence that can provide all the materials that can only be obtained in human society. I only provide you with support. When the colony can make money, You can get dividends, and everything in other colonies belongs to you. Everything you need can be found in the colony. Chen Ming has seen Yu Hui's colony and the colony of the Star Region capital with his own eyes, and knows that what the boss said is correct. But he still has some questions to ask. But colony construction is not that simple, right? Of course not. So I just want to tell you that you can't find a suitable galaxy so quickly now. As for the work to be done in building a colony, you can actually learn from Yu Hui, or if you have time, you can find me and I can talk to you slowly. Ended the communication with the boss. Chen Ming also tacitly agreed to the idea of building a colony with the boss. After digesting what the boss said, Chen Ming's eyes returned to the communication equipment of the Sentinel. He was considering whether to contact the company. At present, the company seems to have only sent a message to Chen Ming's spaceship and has not gone so far as to install monitoring equipment directly on the spaceship. After all, even if they do this, they still have to wait for Chen Ming to come if they want to communicate with him. The initiative to contact is in Chen Ming's hands, so installing equipment on the Sentinel for monitoring is likely to cause Chen Ming's dislike. So they may not know the details of Chen Ming yet, and they don't know that Chen Ming has contacted the boss. This is a good thing for Chen Ming, because Chen Ming now feels that he does not have to contact the company. Chen Ming needs to stay with Yu Hui for a while to obtain the interests that are very important to him, and there are also needs from the boss. But the company obviously urgently needs Chen Ming to help them get Skysteel and confront the military. Otherwise, the longer it drags on, the greater the company's losses in Skysteel. So if the company knows Chen Ming's situation, it will definitely find a way to take Chen Ming away. Chen Ming doesn't want to leave like this. If he leaves now, not only will Chen Ming's chances of getting benefits from Yu Hui be ruined, but he may even be hunted down by 2 Yu Hui cruisers. And from now on, Yu Hui may put him on the blacklist directly. This is definitely not a good thing for Chen Ming. So Chen Ming plans to delay for 2 days and not contact anyone else. Anyway, the boss and the factory director, Lao Wu, are familiar with each other. The factory director and others should know that Chen Ming is fine in 2 days, and they will probably conceal it for Chen Ming temporarily. Unless the company is really urgent, they may try to contact Chen Ming through the boss. But this requires the boss to get through first. Chen Ming picked up the terminal in front of him and opened the professional books that Lao Wu had given him before. He had not finished reading many of these books. And Yu Hui should also give him a bunch of Yu Hui's professional books in the future, and he would have to read them all slowly. But now, he has plenty of time.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.